Hey guys, it's me again. A lot of you can probably relate to this, but Legos were a huge part of my childhood. I was obsessed with them. My earliest memories had Legos in them. A core memory I have is when I shut myself in my own room to build the Lego set I got as a kid during my own birthday party. When guests were still over, by the way. In my defense, I was like maybe 8 or 9. But that goes to display the excitement I had towards the product. I asked for the Lego Death Star like every year for Christmas, which was like $400 at the time of me asking for it, so I never got it, obviously, which it's like over doubled in price now. It's like over $1,000, so I think that dream is dead. I even went to Legoland in Chicago when I was like 12, so yeah. I was a big fan. With all this in mind, you can only imagine the excitement little 9-year-old Eric felt when they announced a whole movie surrounding Legos. I had to see it, and I did, in theaters, I'm pretty sure. I loved it, obviously. I mean, even if it sucked, I probably would have liked it because I was a kid, but I did genuinely really like it. I remember watching it practically daily when I went through a phase of rebuilding all my Lego sets when I was really young. Probably don't have to say there's a lot of nostalgia attached to this movie, and that's kind of the very reason why I needed to rewatch it a couple times before making this video. Just had to make sure that nostalgia wasn't blinding me to the actual quality of the movie. And upon rewatching, I was being reminded of the charming characters and the well-written messaging and the really well-written storytelling. It became obvious that the nostalgia wasn't blinding me to anything. This movie is genuinely a masterpiece, and I'm here to share that with you.
A man has fallen into the river in Lego City. Start the new rescue helicopter.
The Lego Movie takes us on a creative journey with our fun, lovable construction worker, voiced by Chris Pratt, Emmett, as he tries to prove that he's special while doing his best to fulfill a prophecy he got himself involved in. We start by establishing Bricksburg, the wonderful city that's home to many minifigures and led by President Business, who is voiced by Will Ferrell. Everyone in Bricksburg is extremely normal and follows the instructions, including Emmett, which has resulted in a functioning society, but only one where individuality is somewhat stifled. Citizens don't seem to mind, though, most likely due to the fact that this has been their norm for a while, and they are being perpetually distracted by government-issued entertainment and events. The writers make sure to make clear how normal and complicit everyone is by pointing out that everyone participates and enjoys the same things. Everyone's favorite show is Where Are My Pants? Everyone's favorite song is Everything is Awesome. Everyone likes the overpriced coffee. There's an instruction manual for literally everything, etc. But the only reason they're so happy is because the attempts by the government to keep them under control are working. As far as they know, Everything is Awesome is the best song because it's like the only one. I think if someone tried to make music, they'd probably just be like disassembled or something. Anyways, Emmett's at work and he's going to hang out with some coworkers, but the wind catches hold of his instructions. Obviously, Emmett needs those, so he chases after them, where he runs into Wildstyle, voiced by Elizabeth Banks, one of our other main characters and the love interest of the story. He tries talking to her because she's not supposed to be there and is probably trespassing. She runs, Emmett follows, falls down a hole, and then comes face to face with the Piece of Resistance. He's a normal folk, and he doesn't know what it is, but he finds it very interesting, so he touches it. He sees a bunch of stuff, passes out, I think, and then wakes up in an interrogation room where he meets the Prezzo's right-hand man, Good Cop, Bad Cop, voiced by Liam Neeson. He's questioning Emmett about the Piece of Resistance, which is now attached to Emmett's back. He's obviously pretty confused, so they decide to try to burn it off of him, which gets interrupted by Wildstyle saving him. She briefly explains what's happening to Emmett, but it's pretty hectic, so they can't exactly hash out all the details. They escape after a sick motorcycle chase, and they meet Vitruvius, who is voiced by Morgan Freeman, by the way. Vitruvius meets Emmett and informs him of his role as the Special, and then Emmett and the audience both learn what a master builder is, which is basically someone who can kind of build whatever they want with all of the resources surrounding them. And Emmett is not that, which causes a bit of tension, but Vitruvius still believes in him, especially after Emmett recalls a vision he had of the man upstairs. But unfortunately, Bad Cop caught up to them, so they gotta go again. This is where we get introduced to Batman, Wildstyle's boyfriend, and yes, it is that Batman. He saves them with his Batmobile and takes the gang to Cloud Cuckoo Land while showing them some of his sick music that he made about being an orphan. But we meet Princess Unikitty, who is voiced by Alison Brie, and she's pretty awesome. Cloud Cuckoo Land is this whimsical place of endless joy and happiness with no rules. Can't have a mustache though, so I probably wouldn't last long. They have a meeting in the Dog, where all the master builders get introduced to Emmett, who gives a pretty bad speech and causes pretty much everyone to lose faith in him. Oh, and we also meet Metalbeard, who is voiced by Nick Offerman, and Benny, who's voiced by Charlie Day. Bad Cop catches up once again because of a tracking device put on Emmett's foot, and pretty much destroys Cloud Cuckoo Land while imprisoning tons of master builders. The main crew escapes, though, by building a submarine, and also Unikitty and Benny have joined the gang. Fortunately, the submarine doesn't last long because Bad Cop needs to make sure Emmett was dead, so they blew up the sub. The gang survives because of Emmett's double-decker couch and are swiftly picked up by Metalbeard. Emmett helps devise a plan to infiltrate President Business's headquarters and stop him from using the Kraggle, which is his weapon of mass destruction. It's just super glue. I should have explained this earlier, but President Business is just motivated by how disorderly he founds individuality to kind of be, so he wants to Kraggle everything, aka super glue everything in place to reinstate order, I guess. It's actually kind of brutal, and he forces Bad Cop to do it to his parents after erasing his good cop face. Feels like you watched 3 guys get murdered. Lego gore. Anyway, Emmett's plan involved Batman and Unikitty convincing President Business to get a speaker system, Emmett and Wildstyle sneaking in by disguising his robots with tinfoil and helping to carry the speaker system equipment in, Benny and Metalbeard disabling the shield around the Kraggle, Emmett sealing it with the assistance of Batman, and then finally putting the piece of resistance on the Kraggle, disarming it forever. Also, Vitruvius is on watch, and he's blind. So it's pretty funny. Fortunately, things go awry right when they get their hands on the Kraggle, and they all get captured. Once captured, President Business would literally murder Vitruvius by cutting his head off with a penny, cut the piece of resistance off of Emmett's back, and throw it into the infinite abyss of nothingness, and then proceeds to set up a device that would electrocute and kill every single captured master builder, followed by him beginning his plan of gluing everyone. After all this, hope seems to be lost because before Vitruvius dies, he tells Emmett that the prophecy isn't true and he made it up. But Ghost Vitruvius makes his debut and tells Emmett that the prophecy isn't real because anyone can be this special. This motivates Emmett, who then decides to sacrifice himself and throw himself into the infinite abyss of nothingness to hopefully get the piece of resistance and maybe return. Him throwing himself down there caused the electrocution device to be disarmed due to the battery for it being attached to him. Everyone was quite moved by this, obviously, and Wildstyle took the gang with her to the filming studio for Where Are My Pants, where they hijacked the broadcast and started, talking to everyone around the entire LEGO universe. Wildstyle reminds everyone that they are individuals with ideas that matter and are valid. The citizens being reminded of the fact that they can make some pretty cool stuff, start helping out. They build a bunch of vehicles and gadgets to help them out, with a bunch of really cool means of defense that are like a little ice cream truck that shoots stuff, and the garbage truck that shoots stuff, and a fire truck that shoots stuff. They get surrounded mid-broadcast, but saved by Bad Cop due to President Business kind of just leaving him to die and abandoning him. He sharpies on a new good cop face and helps them fight against President Business's droid army. And Benny finally gets his spaceship moment. He helps them escape by building a big spaceship and tweaking out, and then they go back to see the citizens because they've gotten pretty busy with fighting. Now they're going to help him. Now back to Emmett, we see he's falling through a trippy portal through to another dimension, which actually happens to be our dimension in real life. He's now just an actual Lego guy, incapable of moving because he's become inanimate. Probably feels like sleep paralysis for him. Sounds pretty scary. We finally see a young boy playing with Legos, most specifically Benny's spaceship. He steps on Emmett, notices him, and then picks him up and says hi. Suddenly the stairs start creaking, meaning the elusive man from upstairs he's gonna show himself. Oh my god, he's coming. Oh my god. Oh yeah, it's Will Ferrell, by the way. Once he starts talking to Finn, the young boy, everything starts to make sense. These Legos aren't Finn's, they're his dad's, and his dad doesn't want him to play with them. He grabs Emmett to get some residue off of his back. While walking over to his desk, Emmett notices the piece of resistance on the ground, and he knows what he must do. He wills himself to move and throws himself onto the ground to get Finn's attention, which creates a pretty funny sequence. Finn sees and understands the assignment, so he distracts his dad, gives Emmett the piece of resistance, and sends him through the portal. Once returned, Emmett has gained the abilities of a master builder and crafts himself an awesome construction mech-looking doohickey and joins the battle. The gang sees this and are excited as hell because they probably thought Emmett was fucking dead, and then they get to wrecking shit. Their strong defenses upsets the Prezzo, so he sends all of the micromanagers he has. This causes the gang and citizens to get overrun, which eventually leads to Unikitty finally snapping. We see her releasing her rage and literally like eating a bunch of the fucking micromanagers, like fully just consuming them. She gets Emmett free, so he's able to go confront Lord Business. That's his name now, by the way, because he's Lord, he's not just President. Emmett reaches him, defeats all the skeleton robots, but his foot gets glued to the ground by President Business. This leads to the final stand where Emmett releases his secret weapon that he came up with on the spot, and it's his hand. He points out and describes the beauty in everyone's creations while relating it to him and President Business. We go to a live action sequence again where the father character is really looking at what Finn's built and finds himself starting to appreciate it. He asks about the story and then asks what Emmett would say to Lord Business, which prompts us to go back to the Lego sequence. Emmett tells Lord Business that he's interesting, talented, special, etc., which causes Lord Business to finally reflect and actually appreciate other people's creations. He takes the piece of resistance, puts it on the Craggle, thanks Emmett, hugs him, and then it explodes, creating a big glue explosion that immediately freezes. The movie closes with the gang all reconciling with President Business pouring the antidote for all the glue. Also, Batman just kind of lets Emmett have wild style because he wasn't a great boyfriend, and she also caught feelings for Emmett. We then see Finn playing with the Legos with his dad, leading to him being told that his sister is allowed to play with the Legos as well, which of course causes Lego Duplo blocks to come down and leave us on a cliffhanger. And then boom, credits roll. That's the movie. The story is genuinely really fun and creative and almost entirely makes sense. There's a couple small things, but I think we can let them pass on that. And I love it, and here's why. I find the messaging in this movie to be done exceptionally well. Going back to the beginning of the movie where everything's being established and we're being shown how normal and complicit the Lego society is, they never really make it seem like a bad thing. I mean this in the sense that most of the citizens of Bricksburg are generally happy people despite them living in a society where art, movies, etc. is very limited and all are subconsciously pressured to feel certain ways. It just means that President Business's propaganda is working and the citizens of Bricksburg are thoroughly convinced that the lives that they are living are the best that they can be. This only changes when the gang hijacks the broadcasting system and reminds everyone that they are individuals, which obviously results in the citizens revolting and building all these cool things that they never built before. I think the reason why I like the way it did is because it portrays the government control as the issue and not the citizens being a little basic. See it as the movie saying, hey, it's okay to like popular things. Just like think for yourself, man. The way they handle the issue of a dystopian government is really clever as well. For example, when Emmett is watching TV, he's watching President Business give a speech where he talks about how if people don't follow government protocols, they'll be put to sleep, and he says that really quickly. Emmett hears this and immediately becomes concerned, but forgets just as quickly as he realized when Where Are My Pants comes on, and he immediately starts laughing and says, what was I thinking about? Oh, I don't remember.
Let's take extra care to follow the instructions or you'll be put to sleep. And don't forget Taco Tuesday's coming next week. That's the day every rule-following citizen gets a free taco and my love. Have a great day, everybody.
You have a great day too, President Business. Man, he's such a cool guy. I always want to hear more of what... Wait, did he say put to sleep?
Tonight on Where Are My Pants?
Honey, where are my pants?
Another example is during the interrogation scene. Emmett's talking about how awesome the government is and starts listing all the things that Octan makes and ends the list with surveillance systems, all history books, and voting machines. And then he swiftly realizes what he says, but then Bad Cop starts talking and immediately responds to what he said, so he's not really able to give it any further thought.
But he's such a good guy. In Octan, they make good stuff. Music, dairy products, coffee, TV shows, surveillance systems, all history books, voting machines. Wait a minute.
Come on, It can't be this stupid.
I also think the portrayal of the society under this dystopian government is really fresh as well. It's not like the typical gloomy, dark, smoggy, industrial-looking cityscape that most writers typically go for. Everyone's happy, there's tons of bright color, people aren't starving or homeless. They really hone on the idea of ignorance is bliss and the negative effects that come with it. It also works a lot better considering it's a kids movie. The depiction of their messaging for individuality is also done really well in my opinion. For example, Emmett follows all instructions perfectly to a T, and despite this, he doesn't really seem to fit in much. He's not ostracized, but he's not exactly included either. People just kind of see him as another guy. He only finds dedicated friends and a sense of belonging when he does things that truly speak to who he is. I think it does a really effective job at saying you will be the happiest and people will connect with you more if you just act like yourself. Even the master builders learn to be more accepting of other people when they get saved by Emmett's double-decker couch and try out Emmett's plan, which involved following the instructions, and it almost worked. Wildstyle even apologizes when broadcasted over every single screen for not seeing everyone for the individuals they are. The entire ending sequence is really beautiful, especially when you see the father character start to appreciate his son's creativity and realize how much he's been restricting it. It's really moving, and I'll admit, it has made me cry multiple times. Just a little baby like that. Not to mention, they handle the antagonist being taken down really well. President Business isn't defeated, he's changed. Emmett shows him the love and appreciation that he obviously needed to see, while pointing out the beauty and all the strange things that the people create. I personally like this because it encourages kids to actually talk about issues rather than just like villainizing everyone in their lives, which I think we kind of need that. Also, this movie is genuinely really funny, and there are still jokes that I'm noticing while rewatching tons of times. Most recently, I noticed when they're on the train in the Wild West, and the Vitruvius is dancing with a pig, and it goes flying, and it lands on the ground, but it explodes into sausages when it lands on the ground. It's really funny. Also, Charlie Day playing Benny obviously leads to some really funny moments, like his spaceship moment that I mentioned. I also found it really funny when Metalbeard had his guts thrown at him through the window when he almost died during his plan to infiltrate President Business's HQ. The final thing I want to talk about is the animation. It is amazing and groundbreaking. It is specifically designed to not only look exactly how Lego bricks interact with each other, but also be entirely possible to recreate in Legos. They used a program that allowed them to digitally create Lego sets and then animate them, while also starting off by making all the things that they wanted in real life as well. I think Metalbeard was made in real life before they actually added him to the movie, so then they could actually make sure he was real and accurate to how Legos were. And yeah, that means everything in the movie can genuinely be made in real life, like almost everything pretty much. This includes the giant oceanscapes to the entire different worlds they create. They can be made in real life. That's crazy, right? That I'm not the only one who thinks that's crazy, right? They also made sure every single character was animated to only have the same mobility as actual Lego guys.
Step 3. Exercise. Jumping jacks, hit them. 1, 2, 3. I am so pumped up!
The amount of detail put into every single character and set design is insane as well, and the best example for this, we're gonna look at Benny again. He's supposed to be old and vintage, so they designed him to have a cracked helmet, faded printing, and tons of little fingerprints and tiny scuffs on him. Another example I really love is the line going through Emmett's hair mold that looks like a real hair mold, and this was the first time any Lego media was animated this way, and it's become their primary animation style now, and for good reason. Oh yeah, I've also listed a lot of big names throughout this. Yeah, this movie has a stacked cast. Morgan Freeman, Chris Pratt, Charlie Day, Elizabeth Banks.
Nick
Offerman. I figured I had to talk about the sequel just because it only made sense. That obviously means I had to watch it. Yeah, I haven't seen the sequel to one of my favorite movies. Leave me alone, okay, please. The main reason is because I've heard pretty much everyone talk about it, say that it doesn't live up to the original, which had me worried, but I watched it and I mostly enjoyed it. It's definitely worse, and we'll get into that, but it still is a fun movie that still has a lot of charm and a good message. It's still really funny too. Like, I like the part where Unikitty took the bite out of the chocolate bar during the intermission part. It made me audibly laugh.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
It creativity behind all the different planets in the sister system is also really cool. And the Radiohead and Elliott Smith reference, it's pretty funny as well. And I will also say that I like the original concept for the enemy portrayed in the beginning with the Duplo blocks. They were innocent and didn't really realize what they were doing, and whenever they attacked them, it caused more damage than the actual attacks launched by the Duplo blocks themselves. It seemed like a really interesting concept that they would have had to tackle, which leads me to my first complaint in the list of issues that I have with this movie. They pretty much abandon this enemy immediately. They don't do anything with what I thought was a really interesting concept, and the actual enemies that take their place aren't nearly as creative. What they do with the enemy doesn't really make sense to me either. I was initially confused because we're supposed to believe it's Queen whatever wannabe, whatever her name is, because of the supposed poor attempts to cover up her malicious intent. But then there's a twist that reveals that she was being truthful with her poor attempts, and then it's actually Rex who's the bad guy. That part just kind of felt like cheap writing to me, just because, I don't know, just portray something as one thing and then just like say it's not. This is also pretty confusing because everyone was on board with the enemies except for Lucy when they literally got kidnapped by them after fighting them. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this, which bad on my part. Wildstyle's name is Lucy. She reveals this to Emmett in the first movie. Probably should have mentioned that. They even seem to be fine with him before they were offered the very personal things. Especially doesn't really make sense when you find out Rex is Emmett from the future and purposely trying to get Emmett to trigger the Armageddon. I get he's supposed to be bitter for being stuck under the dryer for so long, but he was able to get him to move in literal seconds in the first movie, and then later on in this movie, why didn't he move when he was under the dryer? And B, him becoming that bitter is completely out of character for Emmett. He's made out to like always see the best in people, and whenever people mistreat him, he never reacts in a way that would lead him to becoming somewhat like Rex. I mean, this man literally manipulated Emmett into destroying all of his loved ones and universe, and then launched him under the dryer. You could argue that it's because when Emmett gets rescued, he disappears because he never got into the situation that would lead him to build up all the anger, but he literally prevented Emmett from solving the very issue that warranted the mission that got him trapped in the first place. I'm also not a fan of how they portrayed Emmett destroying the ceremonial palace as Finn destroying his sister's creation in real life. I get he's around teenage, but come on, man. And then his sister gets punished for it as well, which, I mean, she did steal his Lego guys and like color Lucy's hair, but she did not damage anything. They do resolve it in a pretty sweet way though. I have some other small gripes, like Emmett still being dressed as a construction worker for some reason, and then everyone hating him for no reason at the beginning. But what, because he's not tough enough? Okay. And then some of the humor was just kind of a bit much and ruined some of the moments they were trying to portray. Also, a lot of the big names from the first movie just aren't really in the second movie. Vitruvius isn't in it at all. President Business disappears after the first scene and then reappears right at the end. Bad Cop looks at the camera in the beginning angrily, and then that is all he does throughout the entire movie. Like, it feels like they kind of shot themselves in the foot by getting so many big names with the first movie that, you know, they were kind of really banking on a lot of luck in the second one. I know it sounds like I hated it, but I genuinely did enjoy most of it. It's a fun movie, and they have definitely made way worse sequels. It does have a really nice message of getting along and making compromises, but it could have been portrayed a little better, and I'm a 21-year-old man, so they should really start catering to me for kids' movies. Well, that's it. That's my opinion on the Lego Movie 2014 and its sequel 2019. Let me know how you guys feel, or just go down there and have a good time. Talk about what you plan to do this year, or something. I don't know. You got free reign down there. You can type whatever the heck you want. It's a little different than what I usually do. I mean, it's basically a movie review. I don't know shit about movies. Like, what the hell am I doing? Look at that. Yeah, that's right. Benny. Look at all those details. I got President Business too. I got Ghost Vitruvius. I don't have normal Vitruvius. I got Unikey. I got Emmett. Look, I put the regular smiley face on him. It looks. I got some robots too. Dude, nice. I do have Wild Style somewhere. I think I have to reassemble her. I don't have Good Cop though, or Bad Cop. They're the same. They're the same guy. Alright guys, you rock. Make sure your family and friends know they're loved, and keep your soul fed. Bye!